A couple of months back, I made some videos on my channel about me losing faith in Facebook in particular because of all the privacy concerns that came up with that whole scandal. And I deleted my Facebook account. I went ahead and got off of Facebook, deleted my personal account and my DistroTube Facebook account page. And I moved over to DIASPORA, which is a decentralized Facebook alternative. And then I also made a video of me doing the same thing with Twitter. Now, Twitter hasn't been wrapped up in a lot of these scandals the way Facebook has, but I made the decision that if I'm getting off of Facebook, Twitter, I mean, it's a very large company, doesn't really respect people's privacy and security either. I went ahead and deleted my Twitter account as well, and I signed up over on Mastodon, which is a decentralized Twitter alternative. And I have really loved Mastodon since moving over to it. It has become my social media platform of choice. And I have encouraged you guys to join me over on Mastodon, to sign up at Mastodon, because I really love what Mastodon has done, the whole decentralized, basically, Twitter alternative. In many ways, it's better than Twitter ever was. So many of you have signed up over at Mastodon. I've been getting messages from you guys. Hey, I just signed up. What do? I don't know how to use this thing. So today, let's take a closer look at Mastodon, the Twitter killer. So let's take a closer look at Mastodon. Now, Mastodon, there's no like official, one server that everybody goes and signs up to. Like you're not, again, it's decentralized. So you're not all a member of, Facebook.com or Twitter.com. Every instance of Mastodon sits on its own web server, its own domain name. It's administered by different people, and they have their own set of rules for their particular instance of Mastodon. Again, it's a decentralized network. It is nothing like what you're used to with Facebook and Twitter. And that has a lot of strengths. First of all, how do you get started? I'm assuming many of you that are watching this video are not signed up to Mastodon. Mastodon has not become that popular, at least with the masses, yet. I've been trying to push it, on my channel. And I really encourage you guys to join me over on Mastodon, sign up, encourage your friends and family to sign up. As far as a information page, where to go to figure out how to sign up, what Mastodon is all about, joinmastodon.org, I guess is the official homepage for Mastodon. Joinmastodon.org. Here you can find out a little more info. If you click how it works, a YouTube video will pop up and begin to play and tell you all about Mastodon, but you don't need to watch that because I'm about to tell you all about Mastodon. You can also click Get Started, and it brings you down the page to basically this list of a bunch of Mastodon instances, servers that are currently running Mastodon, different domain names. Now, you could just scroll through this list if you want, but they can help you find the particular Mastodon instance for you by this drop down. I am an artist, musician, writer, book lover, yada, yada, yada. They all have about 15 or 20 different things you can answer this question with. And for me, I like Linux. So one of the things in the list is sysadmin. I'm not a sysadmin by trade, but it will get me a server with a lot of tech-related people, a lot of people interested in things like free and open source software, Linux, BSD, that sort of thing. And here are some of the more popular ones that it comes up with. framapiaf.org, which is Framasoft's Mastodon instance with over 6,000 people. Framasoft, most of their websites are French, so I imagine a lot of the people on this particular server will speak French. I don't know that for a fact, but we can check it out by just opening it. And yeah, and the website is in French. I don't speak French, so I would probably not sign up for that one. The next one in the list, Mastodon.technology with over 8,000 people. It's a place for tech folks to discuss whatever interests them. And you have to adhere to a code of conduct, so they will have a code of conduct to follow. Let me open up Mastodon.technology. Now, I actually did sign up personally at Mastodon.technology. That is where I signed up. That is the instance of Mastodon where you will find DistroTube. If you wanted to sign up at this particular instance of Mastodon Technology, you would just fill out this form here. Your username at mastodon.technology, email address, password, confirm password, sign up. Boom. Now you're on mastodon.technology, this particular instance. I've already got a login, so I could just click login and it would take me straight to my page, but I don't want to log into my account just yet. I want to go back here, because if I quit answering that question, let me just go to the very general list of Mastodon instances. By far, the most popular Mastodon instances are Mastodon.social with over 175,000 people. This has become like the general purpose server of Mastodon. It's run by the lead developer of Mastodon, and it has become kind of like the default Mastodon instance. If you're not really sure where to go, what instance to sign up for, what's going to be right for you, a lot of people just want to be where a lot of other people are, and Mastodon.social has become, kind of that server. I would not sign up at these really, really large servers like Mastodon.social, Mastodon.jp, which is Japanese, which is also 163,000 people, and Hawu.net. I've actually never checked this one out, but it has almost 400,000 people. It is Mastodon, hosted by PIXIV. Anyway, it looks Chinese. These very, very large instances of Mastodon, though, they're a little too large for my liking, because, speaking just purely on opinion here, the point of things like DIASPORA and Mastodon is their decentralized nature, right? It's not for us all to congregate on one or two or three really, really large instances of Mastodon. So I would pick some of the smaller ones. You don't have to be, on an instance with you and 5 of your friends, but, you can find instances with a few thousand people on them. That's okay. I mean, you want an instance that, the admin takes care of things, like he pays his hosting bill for one thing, because if the instance just disappears overnight, guess what? Your account disappears overnight. That is one of the downsides of this. But I would not recommend getting on one of these very large ones. I would try to find something, more to, I guess some of the smaller ones that are geared more toward your interests. Again, I signed up at Mastodon.technology. This is a basic homepage for a Mastodon instance. It's going to tell me what this instance is about. This one here is for people interested in technology. Discussions aren't limited to technology. Any discussion is fine, because tech folks shouldn't be limited to technology either. We adhere to an adopted version of the TootCat Code of Conduct, and you can click on this to read what that Code of Conduct is. You are not allowed to harass anyone. You see someone harassing you, report it, have fun, be excellent to each other, yada, yada, yada. No advertising or excessive promotion, no bots, no porn, no graphic violence, nothing that is not safe for work, no racism, no sexism, what you would call your standard kind of code of conduct. Now, I'm already signed up at Mastodon.technology, so I just need to log in. And this is kind of what your page would look like when you first sign up, except it won't have all of this stuff here, all these toots and stuff already, because this home right here, for example, this is showing me toots. By the way, Mastodon, they don't have tweets, they have toots. This is toots from people that I am following. When you first sign up, of course, you're not following anybody, so this column will be empty. Notifications also, when you first sign up, will be empty. You'll have this column here, getting started, and this is where you can do some preferences and settings and that sort of thing. Before we get into that, though, let's talk about just the basic layout of this page. It is very much like TweetDeck. For those of you that have been on Twitter and used the TweetDeck interface, it is set up very similar with these columns. Again, at first, you only have 3 columns, really: home, notification, and then this getting started column, which really is just for navigation, preferences, settings, that sort of thing. But we can add other columns. For example, at the top here, I can add local timeline. And now I have a local timeline column. I can add, let's see, which one is this? This is the federated timeline. Now, federated timeline just is now in the same column that local timeline was. What if I wanted both the federated timeline and the local timeline? Well, let me click the little settings button here and click pin. And now federated timeline is permanently in this column. And now I can add something else to this column. I can go back and let's see. Do I have the option for local timeline again? I do. And if I wanted this one to always show, I can pin it right there. And now I have another column. So this last column is always a variable column. It just changes to whatever you happen to be doing. And these are pinned. These never change. Now, home, notifications, federated timeline, local timeline. Let me get rid of the local timeline for now, because I could also add, what else could I add here? Getting started, that's not what I want. Favorites is right here. Okay, this is posts that I have favorited. I could pin that, and that would always be there. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy layout, familiar layout, especially if you use TweetDeck. And before I go any further, we should explain what some of the terminology is for Mastodon, because they use different terminology than more familiar social media networks like Twitter. For example, I mentioned a toot. A toot is a tweet. Think of a toot as basically a tweet. The difference is for Mastodon, you see this 512, this is how many characters I have left for this toot. You have a 512 character limit for your toots. Not 140 characters or whatever Twitter happens to be these days. So if I want to do a toot real quick, I'm going to type, I don't know, this is a test toot. Will appear on my YouTube channel. And then I can do an emoji if I wanted to. Different emojis. I'll put a penguin since I do Linux related stuff. And I click the toot button. Now before I click the toot button, I can add media, add pictures. I could adjust the status for privacy. So all your toots by default, of course, are public, but I can do this one as unlisted. Do not post to public timelines. Followers only, meaning the only people that will see this toot are those following me. Or direct, meaning the only person that's getting this toot is any user I mention in the toot itself. So if I had, at your username somewhere in the toot, you would get this toot, but nobody else. I'm just going to leave it as public though. CW, what is CW? Basically, this is write your warning here. This would be where you would do like a not safe for work warning or, anything like that. I'm actually going to turn that back off. I'm not exactly sure what CW stands for right offhand, but that is what content warning is what it stands for. Content warning. You would do that and then write your warning. Why are you putting a warning over it? So there will be a warning label over your toot. So it will be hidden until somebody clicks the warning. And I could tell them this is NSFW, not safe for work. That is not allowed on this particular instance of Mastodon, not safe for work stuff, so I don't want to imply that my toot is not safe for work. So I will just do a regular toot, hit toot, and that appeared on my local timeline and my federated timeline. Now let's discuss these. Federated timeline, local timeline. Local timeline is very important. Favorites is not that important, and that's self-explanatory. That's all the toots I've favorited. I'll get rid of that. Local timeline is all the toots on this particular instance of Mastodon, which Mastodon.technology is what I'm on. This is all the toots that are happening, as they appear. Federated timeline is all the toots in the Fediverse. I mean, everything as far as every instance of Mastodon. It's getting put here. Federated timeline. Local timeline is the things just here on my instance of Mastodon, Mastodon.technology. Notifications here, pretty self-explanatory. It's notifications for all these people that just decided to follow me, direct messages. This fellow here actually, and I've got a lot of people in the last few days that are following me because I mentioned Mastodon the other day on one of the live streams. I told you guys to come hang out with me over on Mastodon.technology. You see this guy right here, Linux 3D, he followed me. It says Linux 3D followed you. And then right after that, I get a post from him, and it's in a different color. It's got a different color background. You know, it's kind of in a box by itself. This is letting me know this is a direct message to me. You see how he mentioned me in the post at DistroTube? And when he tooted, he hit this box over here direct instead of public. So the only people that see this are anybody he mentioned in the post, which is just me. So this was a direct message to me. If I wanted to follow Linux 3D back, so he's following me, let me click on his username. And, you know, I can see all of his toots. I can, you know, if they're public, you can choose not to make them public. I can see who he's following. He's following me, the admin of this particular instance of Mastodon, the Federation bot everybody is following, and Starfleet. I guess he's a Star Trek fan. So that's really cool. Followers, this is the people that are following him. And by default, the Federation bot follows everybody, and then Starfleet is also following him back. You know what? I'm going to follow Linux 3D. So I'm going to follow him. And now I'm following him, so his toots now will appear on my local timeline and my home timeline here. Everybody's toots on this instance, of course, appear in local timeline, but his will also appear in my home. He sent me this direct message. If I wanted to reply back to him, I could hit the reply icon here. So let me hit that. And then, of course, I've got his message from before, and I can reply back to him. Let's see. Thanks. I'm replying back to you on video. Will appear on a video posted later this evening. Hope you don't mind. I don't think he will. He didn't put anything personal here. He just mentioned he was following the channel and he just signed up. Let's see. Thanks. Okay. All right. And that was a direct message to him, and you see in my home timeline here, now you see the message I just sent him. Now you also have these other buttons here. You have this, you know, 2 arrows in a circle here. This is called a boost. What is a boost? A boost is a retweet, basically. So if I hit boost, it retweets what this guy just tweeted, which his tweet was just a reply to my tweet earlier on my test toot. He says, your test toot is working. You know what? I don't want to retweet that, but I do want to click the star here and favorite that, you know, as a thank you to him. So boost is retweet. Favorite is the same as like, if you're familiar with the Twitter terminology. Let me click the back button over here and get back to my profile. I'm back to local timeline. If I click back, see, how do I get to my settings? Right here. All right. Now I'm going to show you how you would edit your profile. So you go to settings, edit profile. I will show you my profile. This is basically, you know, my picture, my avatar, my header. You can add links. For example, you can add up to 4 links that will appear. So I added my YouTube page and my Patreon page. I go to preferences. Preferences would let me choose preferences for language. My post privacy, do I want by default it be public, unlisted, or followers only? Of course, I want it public. You have some other preferences. Notifications. This is, do you want, you know, email sent to you every time someone follows you, when somebody requests to follow you, etc., etc. Security, I won't click on because it will have some personal information on that page. But security, if you click on it, does have an option to delete your Mastodon account. And that is a pretty recent addition to Mastodon. For a while, there was absolutely no way to delete your Mastodon account personally. Now, you could always ask the administrator to delete it. They could do it. I mean, they, you know, administer the server. I'm sure they could type some commands to delete you from the system, but you could not do that personally. Now that option is available because a lot of people really wanted that option. You could add two-factor authentication. And let me click on that. If you enable two-factor, logging in will require you to be in possession of your phone, which will generate tokens for you to enter. So that's just extra security. There is an import and export option. Import, you import data for following list, blocking list, muting list. Data export is the same, just going the other way. You're downloading, you know, the people you follow, you block, you mute. Now, why would you need that? Probably one reason you would need it if you ever wanted to sign up for another instance of Mastodon. You might want to take all those, all that data with you. Authorized apps, authorized followers, and then of course the log out button. Now, of course, not everybody you want to talk to, message on Mastodon are going to be on your instance of Mastodon. There's hundreds, maybe thousands of these instances of Mastodon. For example, right here, I'm following Chris Ware on Mastodon. He runs a very popular YouTube channel, Linux related. Really like Chris Ware's content. He just boosted somebody else's post saying, I'm now a GNOME Foundation member. And that was, he was boosting somebody called @brainblasted @social.libre.fi. So that is how you would basically toot somebody on a different instance. For example, if I wanted to toot somebody else named DistroTube on another instance of Mastodon, I would do @DistroTube. And it's already suggesting my username here on this instance of Mastodon, mastodon.technology, but I can do @DistroTube and then assuming there's another DistroTube on this server, you know, mastodon.social, for example. And that would be how I message somebody named DistroTube on mastodon.social or whatever that username happens to be. His username could be username @mastodon. Matter of fact, it suggests example username @mastodon.social. I could message that person right now. Matter of fact, why don't I do it? Nice username. And then you know what, let's add an emoji. You gotta add an emoji for effect. How about a funny one? Toot. And there we go. That's how you do that. And that was a really quick run through of, you know, some of your basic functionality here with Mastodon. Pretty easy to use. Again, the terminology is a little strange. I mean, you toot instead of tweet. You favorite instead of like. You boost instead of reshare. Once you've got that down and you know how the multiple instances of Mastodon work, you should be good. Some of you, of course, are going to also want to do this on your mobile devices. How do you use Mastodon on mobile? There are actually several mobile apps for Mastodon. The only one I've ever used, I use it on my Android phone, touting. It just works. It's pretty intuitive, pretty easy to use. I've used it on my Android phone. It's also available in the Apple Store, so you can get this on your iPhone. Let's see, yeah. So, some final thoughts with Mastodon you need to be aware of. Mastodon, anybody can run an instance of Mastodon. You can set up a Mastodon instance. I can set up a Mastodon instance. If I've got a server, if I'm renting a server or want to set up a server, you know, at my home or whatever, I can set up DistroTube's Mastodon instance. I can set up my own code of conduct, my own rules to play by, and away I go. Because of that, you do need to be careful as far as the instances you're on. For example, if they don't pay the hosting bill, you know, you're gone, right? Your account's gone, everything you've ever done is gone. So make sure when you sign up for an instance of Mastodon, you trust it. You trust that that instance will be around long term. You trust the administrator. So I would look for instances that do have some activity. Again, I would avoid the really, really big instances of Mastodon, just out of principle. I mean, it kind of goes against the decentralized, principle. But look for something that has some activity. Make sure the administrator has been running it for a while, so he hasn't run it. He doesn't run it for 2 weeks and then gets disinterested and it goes away. Make sure there's no financial hardships as far as the guy running the server. Some of these servers do get kind of big quickly, and there is a financial cost to these things. There's also a time cost to these things. So make sure somebody actually has the time and the money to maintain their Mastodon instance. So just something to consider. So there is a danger to that. I've actually thought about, just running it through my head, doing my own instance of Mastodon. I'm not sure if it's something I want to do. I think it would be a fun project, run a web server and spin up my own instance of Mastodon just for fun. I'm not sure anybody would use it other than me, but I think it would be kind of cool. I don't know. You guys would be interested in me doing something like that. That would be a fun project. Of course, I would share that project here on the channel as far as, setting it up, getting it up and running. Of course, I'm sure many of you would probably also want to join that instance. It might be something I do in the future. I don't know. I'm not going to commit to that just yet, but I have toyed with that idea. But that is my quick look at Mastodon. Again, the Twitter killer. At least I hope it is. Before I go, I do need to give a special thanks to my patrons. Of course, I'm talking about A.K. Allen, Alex, Ansem, Tony, Bart, Benjamin, Ben, Bruno, Brian, Carlos, Christian, Chuck, Dan, the other Daniel, and David, and so many Davids, Eduardo, Greg, Humade, Interceptor, Jake, John, Carl, Katrina, Keith, Leo, Marcus, another Marcus, Mark, Martin, Matthias, Michael, Mr. GFY, Mr. Smarty Pants, Mr. Neely Pops, Paul, Rob, Robert, Ron, Silvio, First Stephen, Second Stephen, Third Stephen, Swami, Tiedemann, Voice Love, Tubella, and John. You guys rock. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.